Hello, friend! Welcome to the fire. Ooh, got a story here that takes place at your friendly local game store. And this one includes a mom that, well, I guess you could say, just wants the best for their kid. But, let's just get to the story and you'll find out. A mom tried to manipulate me into DMing. r/RPG horror stories posted by Blade Master Fedora. The characters: the mom, wizard, her best friend, fighter, her son, and yours truly. Preface: I am not making fun of Fighter. He's just a little kid and he can't help the way he was raised. I can, however, make fun of the adults in this story since they fully deserve it for acting like kids. If you haven't read my last story, you should know that before the pandemic hit, I used to DM at a local game store. The owner is a really good friend of mine. Now, don't get me wrong, I had a ton of fun playing there and met a lot of people that I'm still friends with to this day. But I also had a few bad encounters, and this was one of them. So, 6 months after I started DMing, I decided to run Ghosts of Saltmarsh at the store. The owner's wife approached me one day and told me that a 13-year-old kid wanted to play D&D, but along with the kid also came his mom. She was just there to see if this wouldn't be too violent for the little guy. The kid henceforth shall be known as the Fighter, since that was his preferred class. Well, let's just say the violence didn't come from my end. We played the first adventure of Saltmarsh. Fighter ran around the place trying to decapitate a lot of the NPCs in the dungeon. He also tried to torture one for information. All the while, his mom sat next to him, not wanting to play at the table even though I invited her to. When people got visibly uncomfortable, she proclaimed to the group, "Oh, let the boy have his fun." The session ended and I had to cancel the next one due to a family emergency. And since 90% of my regular players were on vacation during the time of my return, I decided to do a beginner's event where we played Lost Mine of Phandelver. A few weeks pass and the event rolls around. If you want to take part in the event, you had to write your name on a sheet in the store. Now, on the day of the event, Fighter and his mom appear, and they wanted to play in the campaign. But at that point, all the spots in the campaign were taken. I politely told them they still had a place in my Saltmarsh campaign, and they can return next week. Fighter and his mom started crying, and I felt insanely uncomfortable, so I let them play. This is where I find out that one of the players at the event, Wizard, was actually Mom's best friend. The other weird coincidence was that one of my Saltmarsh players lived directly above the mom. So, we sat around the table with 8 players. I hadn't prepared any more character sheets, so 2 characters were played by 2 people each. And again, the Fighter was a complete edgelord. He was playing a lawful good character, by the way. He started by cutting off all the goblins' ears, but it got a little bit better after I took him aside and explained what role-playing was to him. He was still a bit of a loot whore though. Even though it was kinda chaotic, it was still fun. So I decided to finish Lost Mines of Phandelver on my own time with this group. 2 players dropped out after session 1, so it all worked out. We played 2 more sessions. I offered to create a character for Mom, but again she declined. She said she just wanted to sit, listen, and take notes for the group. It was also during this time that I was still in college, and I always had a bunch of term papers due at the end of each semester. So, at around this time, I always told the owner that I had to put all D&D stuff on hold. So, September rolls around, and I tell everyone in the store's Discord that I will be taking September off. Without even batting an eye, the mom went upstairs to my Saltmarsh player and told him that I refused to DM anymore and asked him if he could DM the module for the group. I only found out about it because my player jokingly texted me about it, and it was at this point I was fuming. I got into a huge fight with the mom about it. She apologized after a while, and since I was a big softie back then, I forgave her. Everything went along without a hitch, and we finished the campaign. The group had a lot of fun playing with me, so they asked if I wanted to DM another campaign for them, which I agreed. We decided on starting with Dragon of Icespire Peak and would go into Storm King's Thunder. This was where the next part of the troubles began. Since we finished Lost Mines of Fendelver a week before Christmas, we planned on a get-together for the entire group. A little bit like a Christmas party. This was also during the week my dad came for a visit. He lives on the other side of the country, so I barely get to see him. We all agreed to hang out at a bar and have a few. I told them I would bring my dad along since he doesn't get out much. Every last member of the group canceled, but not by themselves. Apparently, they all called the mom to cancel and not me, whose idea this whole thing was. This was meant to take place on Saturday, since on Sunday I would take a car ride with my dad to be home for Christmas. The mom used the group chat to organize a separate meeting on Monday, fully knowing that I was not in town. It might sound petty now, but remember this for later. Okay, that really stung, but I chalked that up to coincidence. Where it all went downhill was the session 0 for the next campaign. The mom's best friend, Wizard, was still a part of the group. He tried a power game and sends me builds upon builds for his next character, telling me how awesome they were. Then, after a lot of back and forth, he decided to play a bard, a changeling bard, in the Forgotten Realms setting. Also, he wanted his starting equipment to be a double scimitar, bladed quarterstaff, and mithril armor. After that, I got so annoyed that I told him to use the stuff from the player's handbook or get lost. Time for session 0. Usually, I only use standard array for character creation, and this was definitely one of the reasons why I still do that. But since this was a home campaign, I told the players that they could either come to the store on Wednesdays before my campaign or wait until session 0 to roll their stats. And it worked out for 4 of the 6 players. Again, Wizard was insanely annoying. He tried to record a video of himself rolling out his stats and sending it to me via Discord. I told him to wait for session 0. The fighter was the other one who couldn't wait. He just rolled his stats anyway, and what a coinkydink! He had 3 18s. I told him that he couldn't use them since I wasn't there when they were rolled. The mom was like, "But I was around when he rolled, and that should be enough." I let fighter roll new stats, which still had 2 17s and no stat under 14 in it. Fighter got pissed, slammed the door, and cried his eyes out. The mom looked at me like I was the villain. During this awkward situation, I also let slip that the wizard wanted to play a changeling. After the session, he sends me a passive-aggressive text on WhatsApp, stating,
I hope no one heard that. That was supposed to be a secret. I wanted to play a new race every session.
Ugh. I decided I had enough after that. I then sent out all my grievances to the group in the form of a voicemail, which included the story about trying to get my player to DM the Christmas story, and the session 0 fiasco. And the mom texted me. We agreed on meeting up at a bar to talk it out. She told me she was flabbergasted about my voicemail. She insisted that she only tried to recruit my player because I said I refused to DM for them anymore, which I told her was not true. She insisted that was what I wrote in the Discord. I then pulled out my phone and proved her wrong. Her response was, "Oh." Then I confronted her about the Christmas story. Her justification was, after work, she just wanted to get a good buzz going, and she told me that I shouldn't be mad because maybe we and the group were not the good friends you thought we were. This was the moment where I should have thrown my drink in her face, to be honest. This was also the time for term papers again, so no matter what, I had to take a D&D break. So, when the mom asked me if I wanted to return, she said that I should do it right now, or not at all. Because if you don't, you will ruin a relationship with people that deeply care about you. She also told me I embarrassed Fighter in my voicemail, and I should apologize to him. After that, I decided not to return at all. Then, she tried to pull at my heartstrings. I didn't get to play at all, and now I have to DM. Funny, coming from someone who got offered to play in the last campaign and refused. I also told her that if Wizard was so obsessive with the game, that he should DM. Her answer? Not gonna happen. So, I decided to leave it at that and left. So, they try to run the Essentials kit without me. I left the group chat the same weekend. A few weeks later, she comes into the local game store with Fighter. He looks me dead in the eyes and try to give me the stink eye. Mom went up to me, rudely interrupting a conversation I had with a friend. I was really pissed at that and barely even acknowledged her existence. After she left the store, she texted me on WhatsApp saying that I was being rude and shitty, and that if I had a problem with her, that I should just leave the group chat. And then she realized I had already done so, and she deleted the entire message. A few weeks later, COVID started. She came into the store and complained about how hard DMing was, and apparently, after 2 or 3 sessions, the group disbanded. This was where the story of the mom ends. Wizard was still in my store campaign, and since this was during the term paper time, the entire thing was still on hold. But I still ran Descent into Avernus since this was a pretty railroady campaign and easy to prepare for me. So, Wizard texted in the group chat why I was still running the Descent into Avernus campaign. I told him my reason, to which he just replied,
You can tell me if you don't want to play with me anymore.
That was partly true. The day after that, he went bananas and sent this message to the group chat of the campaign.
Since I am now groupless, I'm looking for a spot as a player. Does anyone have an opening?
I decided to block him and the mom. Wizard actually managed to find a group afterwards, but he got kicked out for hitting on the DM's girlfriend. Wizard is married, by the way. Ooh, wow, a TTRPG Karen. Yeah, ugh. Okay, well, public games at your friendly local game stores can be a great way to meet and connect with people from your area. But it also does have its downsides, such as incidents like this story. There's a lot of random factors, like how you can't really vet people until you actually share the space with them, individual lines and veils, playing styles, and sometimes certain people just don't mesh well with others. Well, I could go into a whole tangent about this, but I'll save that for another day. Suffice it to say, my personal recommendation for public games such as this is Adventure League type games. One-shots, short campaigns that's 2 to 5 games long, or if the only space that's available to you is your local game store, then make it a closed game of people that you're comfortable with and that they're comfortable with each other. Of course, there's always extenuating circumstances, such as public paid games, and I'm not going to knock those who are hustling out there. Respect to those who can make a living out there running games, or at least make beer money from it. But anyway, how the mom in the story tried to manipulate and gaslight OP, that's just really messed up. In situations such as this, you need to set boundaries and be firm about it, especially with people like the mom in this story, because they will take every advantage that they can with you, and that's a headache that you don't need or want to deal with. Now, what do you all think? Let's hear it in the comments below. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you want to see more content like this. And would you kindly follow the socials posted in the description below. As always, be good, be great, be awesome.